Well, thank you for having me. Betting, if you allow me to say, is a glorified gambling. And when you talk about gambling, generally, there is no reasonable person in society who supports betting, who supports gambling. So generally, betting in whatever form or shade is glorified gambling. Betting, for me, is a vice that should be discouraged as much as possible. The argument generally is betting is a way of getting people jobs and all of that, but the real sense of job is lost in betting. The implication of betting on the economy does not really increase the GDP. For economies to make impact in these contemporary times that we live in, you must be involved in product creation. You are creating products. As you create product, you involve hands, labor. People are employed, and you now find that they earn income by way of producing goods and services. In economic parlance, we call it quid pro quo. In other words, you should have produced a particular good or service in exchange for the income you earn. Now, these people just give money for no real service or product that has been produced. So for economies to do well, those economies must be product driven and employment driven. The government needs to, as much as possible, create jobs for people. And if that is done, a number of people will not get into betting. The youth are the ones that are driven much more into this. So, and the youth form a very large percentage, up to about 65 to 70% of the youth in the country get involved in this. And because when you talk about the youth, you are talking about people that have very high potentials, capacity to produce. Now they are producing nothing. So the economy suffers for it. So GDP is really not affected. If government must do something about it, somehow you must clamp down. So even if government is saying, we don't want to clamp down on these betting houses, but rather a way of handling it is you ensure that you produce jobs. Job opportunities be made available for the youth. When the youth get involved in jobs, are employed, they will not go betting. You know, we had a situation not too long, so also about a year or two back. A student was giving his school fees and he thought, let me quickly put it into this betting thing and get something out of it, pay my school fees and all of that. The money got swallowed up. So what the student eventually did, of course, he committed suicide. He committed suicide because he did not know how to face his parents, and now, without paying his school fees, he ceases to be a student, because the point of registration first must be payment of your fees before you talk about registering as a student. He eventually committed suicide. Well, I think my advice to parents is to follow very closely with their children, know what their children are involved in. The case I just cited is such that the parents never will have known. But sometimes you begin to see the traces, the indications in the child. Parents should not take it for granted. Talk with the child or your children. Question them, ask what they are involved in. And if we develop a very good relationship with the children, they will open up to say this is the thing. So sometimes it is peer groups that influence them to stepping into some of these things. Some of these children, for instance, eventually get into drugs because they want to take something that will make them forget the pain of losing in the betting and all of that. They want to sleep because they've lost so much money, they are not able to sleep. Before you know, they become drug addicted. Once a young adult has been involved in this and is trapped in it, the first thing is to find avenues of talking with people. You have counselors around.